Something happened high in the sky that NASA never wanted the world to see. An experimental aircraft, built in complete secrecy, ended in a disaster that almost changed the future of aviation forever. This was not just any crash. It was a hidden tragedy that carried secrets the public was never supposed to know. Imagine a plane designed to push the limits of science. Faster, higher, and stronger than anything before it. It wasn't just about flying. It was about breaking barriers of technology, military power, and human imagination. But what happens when a dream this bold suddenly turns into a nightmare mid-flight? NASA's experimental aircraft were meant to be symbols of progress. These machines weren't for passengers. They were for exploring the edge of possibility. They tested engines, wings, stealth, and even space-level speeds. But one test flight went terribly wrong, and the silence around it raises more questions than answers. Eyewitnesses say it wasn't like a normal plane crash. The explosion was massive. The wreckage scattered over miles. And strange fragments were quickly taken away by teams who arrived faster than anyone thought possible. What were they hiding? Why such urgency to clean it up? The pilot inside was no ordinary test pilot. These were the best of the best, trained to handle impossible situations. Yet, even with all that skill, this disaster could not be stopped. Some reports even suggest the aircraft behaved in ways nobody could explain before it went down. Was it a mechanical failure or something more mysterious? For years, NASA pushed the boundaries with secret X-planes. The X-15, the X-29, and others were legendary for their strange shapes and insane capabilities. But among these projects was one that vanished from history books, almost as if it never existed, except for whispers of the crash that erased it. The wreckage was not left behind like a typical accident. It was loaded onto trucks in the middle of the night, guarded by armed convoys, and taken to facilities where cameras were never allowed. Locals who saw the flames were warned not to talk. Some even claimed they were visited and told to forget what they saw. Why would NASA cover up something like this? Officially, it was just another test flight. But unofficially, insiders suggest this plane was testing dangerous new technology that was not ready for the skies. If the truth came out, it could have exposed risks far greater than anyone imagined. The strangest part is that photos and footage of this aircraft are almost impossible to find. Unlike other NASA projects, this one disappeared from press releases and public records. Almost like the disaster never happened. Except for the fact that too many people saw it with their own eyes. And here's the chilling question. If one aircraft disaster was covered up this well, how many other experimental crashes have been buried in silence? What has NASA built and lost that we will never know about? The story gets even darker when you look at the timeline. Just before the crash, NASA had been testing new propulsion systems rumored to be beyond jet engines. Some even say plasma-based or ion-powered technology was involved. If true, this means the aircraft wasn't only experimental. It was decades ahead of its time. And that's exactly why the failure could never reach the public eye. Several workers at nearby bases recall seeing strange lights in the sky during test nights. These weren't normal aircraft patterns. The lights moved too fast, changed directions too sharply, and then suddenly vanished. Some believe the disaster came after one of these impossible test flights finally lost control. The pilot's fate is another mystery. Officially, there is no record of a pilot dying in that crash, but witnesses swear they saw emergency vehicles rushing in and a body being carried away. Was the pilot's identity erased along with the program? Families of test pilots sometimes received folded flags and vague explanations. But in this case, there wasn't even a name connected to the tragedy. The secrecy also makes people wonder if the crash was not just mechanical failure. Could it have been sabotage? Or perhaps interference from something that shouldn't have been in the sky at all? NASA never admitted such possibilities, but rumors grew stronger with every unanswered question. Even stranger, some of the supposed wreckage didn't look like normal aircraft parts. Locals described shiny, lightweight materials that looked otherworldly. These were quickly confiscated. If those descriptions are true, this aircraft may have been built with materials far beyond ordinary aviation metals. After the disaster, all signs of the program were erased. Documents disappeared, funding records were redirected, and even employees were reassigned. It was as if the project never existed. But one thing cannot be erased: the fireball in the night sky that too many saw with their own eyes. Conspiracy theorists argued that the crash was linked to military involvement. NASA often worked with defense contractors, and some projects were so advanced they blurred the line between space exploration and weapon testing. If this was a hybrid craft, it makes sense why its failure was locked away in secrecy. Some aviation historians believe this aircraft could have been an early attempt at what we now call hypersonic flight. Speeds 5 times faster than sound. Imagine if NASA had succeeded back then! But instead, one mistake grounded the project forever, and history moved on without mentioning it. The cover-up even included controlling the media. Local newspapers were discouraged from reporting, and television stations claimed the fireball was just a routine rocket test. But eyewitnesses knew what they saw. Something huge had gone wrong, and the explanation didn't match the scene. What makes this disaster even more chilling is that pieces of the story still surface today. Retired workers drop hints, declassified files reveal partial truths, and curious researchers dig into the gaps. Yet even now, the full truth of NASA's hidden aircraft disaster remains buried, waiting to be uncovered. Some believe the wreckage didn't just vanish into secret hangars. Whispers suggest it was taken to hidden facilities like Area 51, where engineers tried to rebuild the broken craft and learn from the disaster. If that's true, then the crash wasn't the end of the story. It was the beginning of something even more secret. The most haunting part of this tale is how much was risked in silence. Experimental aircraft are always dangerous, but this program carried risks so high that the truth was buried under layers of secrecy. By hiding it, NASA and its partners may have protected their reputation, but they also denied the world a chance to learn what really went wrong. Some aviation experts think this crash was the missing link between old rocket-powered planes and modern stealth bombers. It could have been the bridge technology that changed both space travel and military power. If it succeeded, history might look very different today. But instead, we're left with a mystery. A fire in the sky. A pilot whose name may never be spoken. A plane that vanished from history before the world even knew it existed. And a cover-up so complete that decades later, we're still chasing fragments of the truth. This story reminds us that not every NASA mission is about space heroes and glorious success. Some missions end in tragedy, and some are never supposed to be remembered at all. Yet people saw what happened, and their memories keep the disaster alive in whispers and rumors. Even now, researchers try to match the timeline of the crash with missing budgets, strange patents, and unexplained military projects. Each clue brings us closer to an answer, but the full picture remains locked behind walls of silence. It's like a puzzle with too many missing pieces. Was this disaster simply the result of human error? Or was it a test of something so advanced and so dangerous that the truth had to be buried forever? That's the question that keeps investigators searching. The deeper you look, the more it feels like this crash wasn't just about one aircraft. It was about the future of flight itself, a future that was cut short in a single moment of fire and destruction. The wreckage may be gone, but the echoes of that night still hang over the history of aviation. Every now and then, stories surfaced online about strange test planes spotted in the desert. Maybe the spirit of that lost aircraft lives on in secret projects we were not supposed to see. Maybe the disaster didn't end the dream. Maybe it only pushed it deeper into the shadows. And that's why this forgotten disaster is so chilling. It's not just about what NASA built or what they lost. It is about what they didn't want us to know and what might still be flying above us, hidden in the dark skies of secrecy.